You know, it's interesting, Lynda, when Dr. Bonnie Henry and Health Minister Adrian Diggs stepped up and said that they were lifting the mask, or Bonnie Henry was lifting the mask mandate in most circumstances other than in hospital.
Right.
It felt really odd to me because it's like, it was almost like the fourth news item. It felt like we were kind of getting through what we've been dealing with. And at the same time, I was like, people are going to blow back on this too.
But didn't the U.S. president come out just recently and say, the pandemic is, for all intents and purposes, over?
The emergency's over, yes.
Right. Well, you know, here in long-term care, which is what I care about because I'm there every week seeing my dad, it was weird. So this week when I went to see Dad, they were like, okay, you don't have to wear a mask and you don't have to rapid test anymore. And I'm like, oh. So I just walk in, there's my dad.
Look at
Dennis.
how cute he is. I love the hat.
Yeah.
Hi, Dennis.
So I went there and I didn't wear a mask at first because I looked around. I thought, is everybody wearing a mask, not wearing a mask? So I didn't at first, and I was walking into Dad's ward feeling really uncomfortable, like I just robbed a bank or something. And I thought, you know, I think I'm going to put this mask back on because I'm just not there yet.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make anybody sick. And now that I'm not rapid testing, what if I just happen to get COVID from somebody?
There's a huge responsibility with going into a long-term care home, and it should be noted that lifting of a mandate doesn't mean don't do it. It means that it's not...
Decide for yourself.
You got to decide for yourself, and the fact that what you were thinking of is protecting others, that is absolutely what masks should be for moving forward. Masks do not protect you from COVID-19 in most situations by the science of it. Omicron just doesn't work that way, especially with the ill-fitting sort of half-on, half-off masks, but it can keep your droplets to yourself.
Well, the best case scenario is if you're both wearing one. I've seen the graphics,
For sure, but with Omicron, it changed significantly as far as what our provincial health officer said when she lifted the mandate, because up to then she was like, no, we're keeping this in place because, and now it's like everybody is very strongly protected by way of vaccination, and if you haven't gotten your bivalent, go get it, because that's really the best protection.
It is, but so many people are not, and masks have become such polarization point where people are attacking each other, and if you're on a plane wearing a mask, you get the side eye from people who think you're being over the top. But don't you remember back before we knew about the pandemic, you would see Asian people largely wearing a mask on the street, and you would think that seems like overkill. And now I think, oh, I see why now, that they were just way ahead of us.
Yeah, I will always wear a mask on a plane. I will. I just will. And not because of COVID, but because of everything. You know, there's something to be said for that. And I understand that going in and out of a long-term care home, because before we had vaccines, I was scared every time I walked in there to see Dad, thinking I might unknowingly bring something in to this environment that could be potentially deadly. And that is a huge responsibility. I do also want to point out the people that are saying, you know, that everybody should be wearing a mask all the time. The COVID is airborne, COVID zero people that are equally as extreme and ravenous. It's like everybody needs to calm down, as you said.
We need that. Calm down. We need that one again.
We do.
But first, I don't want to run out of time because that was my week. Tell me about your week.
Oh, thank you for asking. Niki Sharma, the Attorney General of British Columbia, invited myself and Jesse Miller to come down and talk not about my case of criminal harassment. That's already in the books.
Jesse Miller is a social media educator.
Yes, he is, and security. He's unbelievable, and he is part of what will likely be a civil suit here. But it had nothing to do with our legal plans, I guess. It had everything to do with what happened, why it happened, and what we need to change in order for this not to happen to others. And I think that's a really big, important piece of this. I don't know anybody who hasn't been harassed in one form or another, online in particular. We need deterrence, we need consequences. We had a 30-minute meeting planned. It went almost an hour, and we were going to circle back in a couple of weeks. I'll keep you updated as to what happens next. I got my fingers crossed for change, people. Let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I'm not super confident.
I am.
That because people are just so nasty right now that
Deterrence.
they seem to glory in being poops online.
I know,
Can
well,
I
we
say that?
see it. You just
It's
did.
a poop emoji.
We're leaving it in. We need a poop emoji over here. Just calm down. And when you're coming at somebody in a way that's vicious, or they tell you to stop, that should be it. If somebody says, okay, stop,
Or how about before that? Before you say something ignorant, just take a moment.
Can you imagine? Oh, what
Yeah.
a lovely place. Remember back in the old days?
Well, then this is a great segue, because still ahead, fool around and find out a total doofus in Edmonton gets trapped inside a metal sculpture, has to be rescued. What the hell is wrong with people?